Hello to people of Facebook. Hello, we're here. Thank you so much for bearing with us. My name's Ashley. Welcome to the Light Christian Spiritualist Church. Belatedly, quarter of an hour late plan to be here. If anyone out there teaches or lectures or kind of hosts any event, you know, there's only one thing that puts the fear of God into you, and that is seeing your laptop do fatal error. Restart now immediately. That gives you the cold sweat, and especially just before you're about to do a broadcast. But I'd like to introduce you to the cool, calm cucumber who's been behind the scenes.
Sweating.
Colin, it's so lovely to have you. You're the ultimate professional, Colin. You were there and you were just absolutely fine. Like, yeah, that's fine. It's right. We can hang fire. You're an absolute superstar. Thank you so much. And I'm so pleased to have you here. Yeah, fellow person kind of bumped into at Spirit Quest this year and said, Colin, I'd love you to come work at the church. So divine providence prevailed and you're sat in the comfort of your own beautiful home, helping us out with our divine service this evening.
Thank you.
Welcome to everyone. Yes. Super. Welcome to everybody that's joined us this evening. Thank you for hopping over. You are now in the right place. If you are here watching this broadcast very belatedly at 6:30, you're definitely in the right place for our divine service. Thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for coming and finding us over here. Yes, Susan, Spirit were testing. It's very testing, very testing. Technology, it's so much easier in person. If anyone shares their own spiritual service, they know that there's always that moment 10 minutes before the service is due to start and you wait for the doors of your church to slam open and the medium to be ushered through to the medium's room. And the same thing happens online.
Yeah.
Hey, hello to everyone. Helen, everyone that's joining us. Thank you so much. Helen, where were you? I needed your technical producer skills. I needed you this evening to help with that. Thank you everyone for joining us. What we're going to do now is I'm going to take a deep breath now that we know the tech works. We're going to grab my matches and my candle. And as we do that we do every Sunday, we just create that moment in time where we can come together as a spiritual family. And the matches work. That's good. Okay. I'm just lighting my candle for all of you. Colin's got his beautiful candle lit there as well at home. We're just lighting our candle so that we can connect everybody that's come to join us online this evening. Wonderful. Thank you. And as you feel the energy settle and drop, I'd like to invite Colin to open our service with your opening prayer, please, Colin.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks. So even if you're in your own homes, if you'd like to just close your eyes for a second and just listen, or not, your choice, but I shall start and I'll close my own eyes while I'm sat here. So if you just join with me in your own thoughts while we open up in prayer. Great Spirit, Mother, Father, God, giver of life to all things, we, your humble servants, stand before you to thank you for our very being, for the light that shines within each and all living things, in the trees, in the rocks, in the wind, in the animals, the birds, and ourselves. We thank you for the opportunity to be on this journey and learning and experimenting and failing and getting back up and starting again. For all the experiences that are there before us and those that we have gone through that make us who we are today. The growth that we have had through all these experiences and all that growth yet to come. All the enlightening wisdom from those lessons that we shall maintain and hold on to and pass on to others to help them in their journey. We know and understand that we are living beings forever and that this body that we inhabit is merely just a coat for this one journey now and maybe for many before and maybe many yet to come. And we know and understand that we are all connected and all a true part, every single one of us, an equal portion of that universal energy that we may call God or Buddha or Muhammad or whatever, we refer to it as, but we are all part of the same superior loving intelligence. And because of that, we know and understand that there is nothing, if we set our mind to it, that we cannot achieve. It may take time to achieve the greater things in life. It may take several lifetimes to come to an understanding. But we know and understand, because we are a part of that great spirit, that we have the same power latent within us. Whilst we walk this journey on earth, we know that our duty as brother and sister to each and every one, literally and truly, on the planet, and every living thing, in fact, that we should walk our way as gently as possible, helping those that need help, that come before us, and putting ourselves about in a way to show that we are living a good life, that we speak a good life, that we act a good life, and trust and know in ourselves, and let our intuition tell us that which is good, that which is bad, and act accordingly, and know that our heart will let us know when we are stepping off of that pathway into a darker way of life. And so we give our thanks to that great spirit that guides and keeps us every moment and in every breath that we take. And we leave ourselves, as we always have and always will, forever in that power and in that care and in that keeping. Amen.
Thank you, friend. Amen. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for that absolutely outstanding prayer. Thank you so much, and all of your people. Okay, everyone at home, just as we allow those words just to permeate through us, we're going to join together now, if you wish to, and say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. What a wonderful prayer. Thank you, Colin. Goodness me, I could feel that here in the comfort of my own home. That was lovely. Thank you. Okay, friends, while we're in that wonderful action for the energy, setting the tone for the energy, that Colin's people have come around to kind of set that mood for us, we're now going to go into our healing time. And that is for you to connect to that place within yourself that you send thoughts and prayers and wishes to people that you know and love, and people that you don't know and love, to the entire planet, and to everyone who's struggling in whatever way. There's deep breaths. I'll invite you to just go to that quiet place as we play some music for you to reflect, send your thoughts, send your prayers. And I'll say a short healing prayer at the end to bring us back. And then I'll say the words Amen to bring us back. Okay, friends, so just settle to that quiet space. Gracious God, we ask that you come around us at this time, that you give us the ability to recognize the energy within ourselves to do good and make change, that you give us the understanding to be able to recognize within ourselves when we can help. But you also give us the upliftment and support to do the work that's needed at this time to help ourselves to grow and learn within our own hearts and souls. We would ask for a special blessing for all of those people who are the helpers, who are the healers, and who are those seeking to find opportunities to make changes and to support others to make those changes. We ask for a special blessing on all of those people who are supporting those in need at this time, however they are suffering. We would ask for some special energy to be sent to the leaders of this world and the people making decisions upon our behalf, that they can be inspired by their own sense of inner knowing to do what is required and what is best for the planet. We would also ask for those spirits, guides and helpers and those people that work in the areas of advancement of this planet to come and be around us at this time, to support us to bridge the gap from where we are to where we need to be. We ask all of this in your name, which is love. Amen. Lovely.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I'd now like to invite you, Colin, to read your reading that you've picked for us this evening.
Righty-ho. I'll have to need these babies for that. Just before I read it, so I try and think of things that might just inspire or get people thinking about things. It's all too easy to talk about the everyday stuff, but we deal with that all the time. So I wanted to try and get people thinking about the bigger picture, really. And I found, after I thought about what I wanted to do, then I found the reading. And so I shall read it slowly, and let's see what you think of it. So like I said, I was sat thinking about what I know, what level of, not level, I hate that word, what knowledge I'd accumulated over the years and that. And then I realised, actually, when I listened, like I have on your show, to other people, and then the knowledge that they express, I think, blimey, actually, for all my years, I actually know very little. But then I thought that goes for all of us. On the grander scale of things, we might have achieved or understood. Actually, that's destroying the reading. So the reading will. So we'll just go on with that then. But that was the item I was thinking about. To remember what our true self knows about who we are, what the true definition of the divine is, and its and ours purpose and journey is all about. The realization in the physical mind that no matter how great the spiritual scholar that we appear to be, how wise or knowing we are, feeling that we may have accumulated what we believe on our journey to be a wealth of spiritual knowledge. And then with that knowledge comes a knowing that actually we know such a very small percentage in our minds of that which the true self within us already knows. However, because of this, there comes a time, if we are fortunate, when a feeling and a knowing comes to you from within, from the spirit within you, that you are close maybe to connecting some of the dots and the pieces. You begin to get feelings of awe and wonder within yourself, a glimpse through a window perhaps, through that frosty glazed window where your vision and focus and feelings are coming together. An excitement wells within you because you are touching ever so gently and softly, the very outer edge, where lies the truth of all things, and a beginning to understand what is on the other side of that veil. This is the journey to seek and to understand, to open yourself up and to know your true self. That is the purpose. Where you sit in the great divine and realize that you are an eternal, an equal, and an integral spark of divine life, along with all life, and forever shall be.
What a fabulous reading. Thank you so much, Colin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, just out of interest, where was that reading from?
I wrote it. I wasn't going to tell you that. It's only because you asked. So it's on a bit of paper that I scribbled. But that's why you don't always need to tell people what you do, and I don't.
You
but
don't?
You asked. I was going to let it, but there it is. And I just had a little moment the other day when I was thinking about, like I said, you know, the understanding what the true purpose is. We all think, well, it's just to experience. Well, it is, but that's in that experience. Are we moving into the talk now?
Go for it. You're on the roll. Go for it. I'm not going to stop you.
What were we going to do after that?
It was the address. So yeah.
So this is it then, shall we? Shall we have a little go into that and see what comes to mind again for me? So like I say, I was there thinking about the true purpose and the journey of the spiritual self. And I was trying to put myself as much as a human being can into being that spiritual bit in there. How close I got to it, I'll never know. But I tried, because at the end of the day, if you put things, the spirit will always do and choose the best outcome, not just for you or me, but for as many as it can, always. So our decisions should be based on, if we're going to affect others in some of our decision making, some of it may just be ourselves. Do I do this? Do I not? Choose, make your choice, go with it, and go on. But there are times when our choices will always affect other people. And I remember reading a quote in a very spiritual book. I'm not sure if it was Silver Birch or it was in response to a question in the Conversations with God, that book, the first one. So it was in either or both of those. And that quote touched me straight away. And the response to his question was, how do we know we are doing the right thing, even though we choose? And that's where the response came. If you listen to your soul will always choose the option that helps and assists the greater good, whoever and whatever that might be in its moment. And so there are times when making decisions, we often do things based on emotion and in the moment. And when we respond in that way, we don't have time to evaluate, to see and understand. When we respond so quickly on impulse, we don't understand truly the thing that we are doing, the thing that we are saying, what its outcomes could possibly be. And so the spirit to me suggests that you feel what should be your response in any given situation, perhaps, but especially in the more tricky ones where you're going to affect other people's lives and their emotions. And I have a little thing that I've been doing for quite some time now. And when one of these bigger picture questions comes up within me and there's an action to take, I take that time. I've never really, except in my youth when I was impulsive and very naughty, responded too quickly to things. These days, it takes me a while to respond to things, as you with messages in my inbox from people you well know. I will get back to you. But the point is, you listen to yourself. So if there's a problem that you've come across or you're in this sticky situation, you can even ask the same thing for others. If someone comes to you for advice, you sit there and you be them for a moment and you ask that question. This is my situation. There's always more than one option to your answer. There will always be more than one. And so I could say I went for a new job, which I've done, several jobs at once, had a choice, 1, 2, 3. And in my out loud, speak out, this is job number 1. It entails this is this. How do I feel about it? Sit for a moment. Not really getting any response, not feeling like excited, not feeling really down with it, just feeling, oh, that's it. It is what it is. Job number 2, doing this, doing that. It's good money, but it's not this and it's not that. How do I feel in here? And you get that thing, everybody gets it, and you feel a little drop within yourself. Your energy just dips a bit in that second or two, and you just think, oh, not sure about that. Well, if you're not sure, that's it. That's the one. Don't do that one. And then the third one, even as you're talking about the job, you feel all alive, your voice is uplifted and all of this. So that alone tells me this is my choice. Whether it's as much money as job number 1 or not, kind of irrelevant. You find that all the people that are happiest in this world and getting paid the best money for it are doing the things they've always wanted to do. They followed their hearts instead of following the road that says you need to do this, you need to do that. And your mum doesn't want you being in that sector. Your mum wants you in this, or your dad, or your whatever. But when you truly, truly follow your heart and things flow, the universe is perfect. Natural law, as you give out, you get back, is perfect, and we'll never understand it. Not in this physical sense, ever. But I accept fully that every outcome for every situation and action that I do or say, everything that comes my way is perfect. It might cause me tears. It might cause me the loss of a lot of financial, some cash, or it might mean I've got to uproot and move off somewhere and do things. And as much as things hurt you, don't fight them. When you know deep within you, and it becomes blatantly obvious, you need to change things, or you need to do this, or you need to go in that direction, you've just got to go with it. And don't worry about how tough it is. Well, it means I'm going to be without money. Something will happen. When you follow what your soul says to you, it might be a bit of an upheaval to follow that path. But then I always say to people, don't look at the mess in front of you, or the upheaval, or the sadness that's going to come, or this or that, or all the strife. Look at what that situation could potentially take you to. So you look over the hill. Don't look at that mound of stuff. Think, what position will I be in with myself when that is over, when that is done? What doors will be open to me? What kind of I don't know. But that's where you look. You look down the road. We all look too keenly at that right in front of us. I actually don't even look that far. At 5 o'clock, I was looking to 6 o'clock for this. And tomorrow morning, I'll be looking at what time I get up for work, and I'll follow the hours through the day. And that way, instead of putting too much emphasis and worrying about tomorrow, the day after, next week, or the month after, my head doesn't go that far. My head goes in what's going on today. And I find that my mind has got accustomed to the fact, because I keep making it think that way. today's the day, and that leaves me open for a lot of stuff to come my way as and when the universe sees fit for it to come in my path. Not to put so many things in front of me that in order for something new to come in, I'm going to have to shift something out. So I make sure the spaces are already there so that things can come my way all the time. And there may be periods, long periods, of where nothing really new has come in. You're in this thing, you're doing this 9 to 5 or whatever it is, but then you're meant to. Like I say, I literally accept everything and anything that occurs on this whole universe, not just the planet or our country or our neighborhood. Everything is controlled to a point by that, what we call God. Because again, we were given free will. It frustrates me when you hear, even on TV, you see movies and they use these things and they talk about religion and gods and things, and they say, well, if your God was so loving, why does this go on? Why does that go on? Why is there wars in so and so and all of this stuff? Why is there such disease? Why is there this, that, and the other? Well, they weren't until human beings were on the planet. The planet on its own would look after itself and all the animals forever in perfect harmony, and it would be great and it would be lovely until you put people like us on the planet. And then we start mining things, we start cutting things, we start using all the resources. And I'm not getting into politics, this isn't about politics at all. This is about how we treat things. So isn't it any wonder, and then we get free will if we're going to do that to the planet, and we don't even see that as a problem. We do that. So many, all those that take that stuff from the planet don't even see it as a problem. Well, it's there and I'll take it. It's end of story. So they see the planet as a separate entity that is of no importance, and yet it's of every importance. We will be long dead and gone before the planet is in any real bad state. The planet will look after itself, and the universe will make sure it looks after the planet. Meanwhile, we'll still be making wars against each other and then asking God, well, why did so-and-so die? Well, you started the war. You stole that, you did that, and that was it. That was the war. And what about the famine? Well, all you rich people over there, you look after your money. You won't share it with the people that need it, because you don't do that. You look after yourself and you build your own wealth and your own power, and you forget who you really are. And I find that in my own understanding, not of all people, I'm not talking about having money is a bad thing. Having money is a great thing if it's used in the right way. If you use your wealth, doesn't mean you have to go broke to look after everyone. I deserve a good standard of living like everyone else does. But there's a portion of that if you can afford, wouldn't it pay and help if you could distribute some of that to where it's needed? And just a small portion of the planet would need to distribute a small portion of their wealth in order for that other third world sector to get on its feet, but they would never do it. And it makes you wonder why. So it's a frustrating thing in some ways to be on a spiritual journey, as it were, and thinking about all things spiritual, and yet you're confronted 90% of the time by so many people and institutions and things that occur globally, non-spiritual. So that says something for you on your journey, all of you, all you spiritual thinking people. What a tough time to be on this planet for those who have sensitivity about them and feel like your hands are tied, because what can you do when there is so much that could be done? And if we had the means, we know we would do it. And yet we don't all have those means. But we're here, all of us, and all of you watching, you're all gathered here together. So you're imagining now in this moment, all those spiritual minds and that energy is all lit up and all about. So we're a little beacon in ourselves at the moment. And even as we talk on a spiritual level, we're raising vibrations, even ever so slightly, but more than they were. And that's the purpose. Develop ourselves inwardly, which will express itself in us outwardly, and then we will move that among the people. And even the animals know. The animals feel it. We've had a cat come in here that is not ours. Excuse me. Oh, goodness me. I'm just going to have a little sip. I've gone all dry. So, yeah, animals know. I was going to use the cat as an example, but they do. They know. Even your inner intent, before your mouth opens, they read you. They only need to look at you and feed that energy, read that energy. And there are those of you, you only need to meet someone in the street and you might take a few steps away because the energy doesn't feel, I don't know what it is. It looks fine, well dressed, looks great. But there's something there that doesn't mix with me. It doesn't make them bad, means your energy and their energy is not really compatible. And so you have this little barrier and they probably feel it as well, who knows? But the more we pay attention to ourself, our inner self, our true self, the more we feel things and try to feel things. Not to be judgmental about people or situations, excuse me, but just to go about, listening and then understanding people. There are so many people out there that we walk by in a day, and if we'd have been more, I'm not saying we're not feeling, but if we'd have taken that second just to feel about whoever that person is, we might have done something, we might have done something to help. I mean, it's often, how many times do we walk up the high street? I know in my neighborhood, there are one or two homeless people that are often, not now, but in the good times, sat in the street. And how many of us have walked up that street and we've seen them sat there and we're thinking, I'm going to give him a few quid. And then you've taken another 20, 30 steps closer. And if you're going to give him a few quid, you'd be thinking about a fiver. But then by the time you've got a bit closer, your hand moves from your wallet to the loose change in your pocket. And then you're fiddling about in your pocket and you can feel all the pound coins. And then you're thinking, well, I might need them later. And then you start separating the pound coins with the silver and the copper. And then sometimes even you get up to him and you just think, it's too late, and you've walked past him. Sometimes you might throw a bit in. The Native Americans have this thing. They don't talk about it as energy. I was very fortunate to spend over a 4-year period on and off in Montana with the Crow tribe, as a lot of you know. And their culture is just the most understanding of all cultures that I'm aware of at this moment. There may be more out there, and I'm sure there are many tribal ones. And I remember one day, the Sundance leader, Enamani, known as Scott Frazier, who taught me so much and I'm so indebted to, and a wonderful person. And he took me up the mountain to go picking sage, the sage that you all smudge your houses with. We were picking it from the mountain. And when we got there, I noticed they'd brought a big pouch of tobacco. Tobacco is sacred to Native Americans, like many, many things. Water, everything, all things are sacred. But it's like a currency. If you do a deal, a spiritual deal with a Native American, you would give him the tobacco when you agree with what's been proposed to you. You give him the tobacco and you shake his hand and give him a hug. And you can't go back on that. It's huge. So tobacco is huge. And so we were walking through these, what I referred to at the time as clumps of sage, which he quickly corrected me to and said, you mean families? I was like, yeah, actually, of course, families. And he went to the first family and he knelt down and he said to me, now, listen, you don't take these, the small ones, they haven't grown, they don't have the knowledge, and you don't take their parents either because they've still yet to learn. But you can take from these big ones. These are the grandparents. They're the ones with all the knowledge. But you can't take them all because if you take them all, there'll be no one to pass the knowledge down to the mother, who will then become the grandmother, who will need to pass it down to the others. So we took a couple from each family of the grandparents because their medicine actually is much stronger than obviously the younger ones. And as he took him, he put his hand into his pouch of tobacco and he put it at the base of where he'd taken the two plants. That's one example. There was another one. Occasionally Native Americans still hunt on a need basis and will use as much of the animal as they can. And so you hunt this animal, but before you go and hunt it anyway, you have a ceremony and you ask permission and you know that you send out to that animal that will put itself in your path. So it has offered itself before you've even gone hunting. And that spirit of that animal will put it in a place where it knows you will be and where you know it will be. And it's already offered itself. And then you go to that animal the next day with your rifle or whatever. And as soon as you have as soon as you put that animal down, you run to that animal and you kneel down next to it and you put your hand on its chest, on his lungs, and then you put your mouth down to his muzzle. And as you do so, you push down on the chest, and before it has passed, you push its last breath of air out and you breathe it in deep. And then you say to that animal that I take your last breath within me, and therefore you shall not die, but you will live within me on my journey. And that's the way they look at things. And I think if the greater portion of our planet looked at things in the way that the Native Americans do, and many tribal cultures, many, there is a connection between all of them. They see all nature as equal. They understand the spirit world. The Sundown leader, he doesn't talk about himself as a medium. It means nothing to him. He just knows that from the youngest of ages, he always knew there was a great spirit. Didn't have to be told about how to connect with it. He would talk to it all the time. And so, of course, it will respond. And you'll see the signs, the same as we call ourselves, oh, well, we've trained and we're mediums and we're this. He didn't train. He just lived his life in a natural manner and could suss me out in the blink of an eye. Used to talk about things and then used to think, well, why is he talking about that? Because that so connects with that. And he didn't even measure or gauge, just did. And that was just being natural, no drama, just talk. And to listen to his philosophy and the things he would talk about, well, it's just mind-blowing. And yet it's the most natural of things. And excuse me, so I would urge people, travel. For me, if I had advice for people, travel extensively, meet these cultures, not just the tribal ones, go anywhere you fancy, but don't stop traveling, get out. And the only thing you're ever going to take with you when this existence comes to an end, when this body gives itself up, the only things you're going to be taking with you on that side of life is your experiences now. And I'm not going to gauge the value of each of your experiences because they are valuable to you. They may not be on the same wavelength or of much value to me in my understanding, because I look at things like a lot of people in a different way. But if they're valuable to you, hang on to them and take them. But for my own self, I know that any house, car, motorcycle is staying here. And what happens to it won't even bother me. Won't even bother me. What will bother me is when on the other side of life, and then I look back as if it's this story of my life, and I go and read through it, and there'll be pictures and video, and it will be 1968, Colin did this. Look at him do that. What do you think of that, Colin? How, and that. Oh, looky here. That was an emotional time. How did I receive that? Well, Colin, look what you did to so-and-so there. How do you feel about that? And then, oh, look at all the places you visited. Look at all the stuff you saw. Look at the cultures and the people you met. And the way you interacted with them and what you learned and what your soul learned. What your soul learned. There has never been a more wonderful feeling for me, besides the connection with spirit, when I'm out in nature in a foreign country, and I've been to a few now. I've been lucky enough to travel to some most beautiful places: Canada, New Zealand, Australia, America, China, blah, blah, blah. And for me, it still sticks in my mind. You imagine the Rocky Mountains in Canada, in a place called Banff, and the road that goes up is literally where the mountain was tarmacked and they've broken it all down, what have you, but it's still beautiful. Still got pine trees growing up it. Tunnel Mountain Drive. Goes up for about a quarter of a mile, half a mile, like that, vertical almost. And sat right on the top is a pine-built, beautiful, 3-story lodge, and is owned by Hostelin International. And it's stunning, and I stayed in it. And one morning, the first morning, the next morning, I was up 6 a.m. Sun was up and it was beautiful. Literally crossed the road from one side to the other, and I'm in the forest that goes on for hundreds of square miles. And I wandered through. There was a whole herd of elk. Elk sat on the floor, all nestled together. Didn't mind me. I didn't mind them. Trotted around them quietly, left them in their little space. Walking through, and through the trees ahead of me, I could see like sunlight and some shimmering. So I thought I'd follow that to the opening. Walked and walked eventually, and then I could hear like water trickling and running. And as I got out the other side, there was like a lush green bank of grass, like a golfing lawn. It was so pristine. It was beautiful. And in front of me was what's called the Bow River. And opposite, there was like an eddy where the water rushed in one side and then the other side fed out, and it was like a still pool. And not more than 25, 30 feet from me was a full-grown moose with first moose I'd ever seen in my life. I was amazed, gobsmacked, stunned, overwhelmed. It was beautiful. And he's just dipping his head in, pulling up all the grassy bits from the bottom of the thing. And once he saw me, he didn't panic, but just walked off somewhere a little more quiet. And I was in awe. And I sat down on this grass bank. I couldn't hear a plane. I couldn't hear people, couldn't hear cars. I could hear the flies, and that was it. Mosquitoes. That's all I could hear was the buzzing of little insects. And it was insanely, beautifully quiet. And then my attention, do you know, like when you can feel energy? You haven't seen the picture, you haven't seen anything, but you can feel energy. And so you're drawn, so you turn your head. And then I look up. And in the pine tree, 2 or 3 trees across from me on my left shoulder, up about 20 foot, huge, standing at least, I reckon, 18 inches, 2 foot, eagle owls, huge thing, just stood there on the perch looking down at me. And then as I glanced down, I look across, and about 30 foot away is a decomposing body of a deer. So I walked over to it, And there in the mud by the water all around it were these huge bear prints, proper bear, big bugger bear, honestly, and wolf prints as well, dotted all around. And I thought to myself, my goodness, I'm really in the wild. I'm in absolute pure nature. And I sat down across my legs and I could feel this funny, unusual, it wasn't unusual, I was accustomed to it all, but it was an energy that was coming around me. And I started getting emotional. And I knew, and I can't tell you how I know, there was nothing there that suggested everything. And I knew in myself, this is home. So whatever connection, whatever it was in Canada, I couldn't tell you where my home was, who it was, what anything about it. I just knew in that, because I've been to many other countries and never felt it. But sat on the banks of that river, that was home. And I felt it deep. And then I got emotional. So I know even my soul recognized and knew and was transferring that knowing to me, saying, Colin, this is where you belong. And so I have to go back sometime, somehow. But those experiences, that's what traveling gets you. It opens your eyes, and you never know who you're going to meet and who's around that corner that takes you somewhere else. Always leave, like I said, don't fill your days, weeks, and hours with things pre-planned. Book a holiday to Spain in August, fine. But leave some space for the spirit to put things in place for you. Even if it's full, they'll find a way to get round it, but it would make it easier. And plus it leaves you open to as many options as come your way as possible. So I have a feeling I've waffled for some time, and I don't know if I've overdone the clock or what. I don't have one here.
No, that's not waffle. Do you know what? For everybody that has joined us and persevered and stuck with it to find this place on the internet happening now, Colin, you've blown everyone away into stunned silence listening to that.
I don't know that.
And you know what I love is you hide your light under a bushel, that you read an amazing reading that you just happened to casually throw in there, that you'd written that, you'd been inspired to write that. And you paint pictures with your words.
I try to. That's, in a way, that's deliberate, because I tell you, it's because I still see it. So I can only talk about what I know, and those things that I know are things I've done. I don't often talk about things that I think I would like to talk about if I haven't experienced or don't have the knowledge based on experience of those things. And so when I talk about my journey and what I've seen, and I just tell you what I remember in my mind's eye, which is as clear as a picture and a painting. And I can remember clearly those big things that stuck with me, the emotion that was there with them. Let me just tell you one little more, if I may. So I can't tell you too much about this, because on one of my not engagements, that's too, but my time spent with Enamani and members of the Crow tribe, we'd come back from doing a Sundance. Now, a Sundance is a 3-day, night and day prayer, no food, no water. And you're out in the open and you do your prayer. That's as much as I can tell you on that. But we just come back from one of those, and we'd been at his house, I don't know, maybe 2 days, I think, in the Bridger Mountains, which are a section of the Rockies in Montana. No neighbors, beautiful pine house with decking, sweat lodge in the garden, and hills, beautiful. And he said to me, you need to do another dance. I said, you're kidding. I said, we've just been back a couple of days. I said, I'm knackered. He said, no. And he pointed out the window and he said, up there. And he's pointing out the window to the mountains. And I knew what he meant. I'd already dreamt before I even left England to come to America about being sat on a mountain. And that's called your vision quest. And so to cut it very short, the boys in their younger years, puberty years, when an elder decided they needed to get their medicine, their power, their understanding, you got the mountain, and the Great Spirit will give it to you in whatever way it sees fit. So that's what he was referring to. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's a different story, because here we are in Montana next to Yellowstone Park, where there's like the bears and the wolves and all that stuff. And he wants me to go and see up a mountain for 3 days. And so I was umming and ahhing, but I thought, you know what, I've got to do it. He said, well, anyway, I'll leave you to think about it. So that night I'm in bed, and I was due to go backpacking to Canada to do the stuff I just told you about. And so I'm in bed, and my little eyes are shut, and I'm in bed, and I'm giving it all, God this, God that, and I want to do it, but I'm scared, and there's all this in my head. And so I go to sleep, wake up the next morning, nothing different about it, nothing different. Go to bed that night, do it all again, our Father, blah, blah, blah. Get up the next morning, fine. Go to bed again the next night. Give it all gets up the next morning. Felt something happened in my sleep state that night. And I got up, and on the dressing table side thing, I had the pouch of tobacco that I was telling you about, because this is one of those deals. So I picked up the tobacco, and I thought, I'm going to do it. I had no question, no qualms, no fear, nothing at all, as if it was no issue. I turn around, and there's this 6'2" Sioux Indian, actually, adopted into the Crow, Enamani. And he stood there looking at me with his hand out. This is what I mean about mediumship. Being a medium, not a medium, just knows. And he's there with his hand out already. He hadn't been in my bedroom any other day, but he was there then. So I put the tobacco in his hand. That's the deal done. He gave me a big hug. He said, right, you got until 11 o'clock tonight to eat and drink whatever you want, and then it stops. And so you're all right. Oh, by the way, little thing of coincidence, maybe, or synchronicity. All these ceremonies are done on the full moon. The day I woke up and did it and said to him about agreed to do it, was the first night of the full moon. Another day later would have been too late. So, and so he took me outside that evening in front of the full moon, and he had a big eagle feather fan. And he said to me, we're going to do a little ceremony thing here. And he said, you can't go up that mountain without any medicine. And you don't have any, because you've never been up that mountain. He said, I've been up that mountain. I've got medicine. And so when you go up, I'm going to give you my medicine that will look after you while you're up there. And so he's got his fan, and he's chanting all this stuff in Sioux, and he's patting me up and down and going around me in this beautiful Sioux language. It's stunning. When I hear Native Americans speak, I literally get stuff go through me that does stuff, just does stuff. And, excuse me. And so I go to bed after the ceremony. We're up at the crack of dawn. Pops me in the sweat lodge for a while. All cleansing, all of that, protection, healing, blah, blah, blah. His wife had washed all my clothes and the bag that I was traveling with. And actually, do you know what? I'll cut this short because this goes on for as long as ever.
We'll have you back on Friday. We're having you back on Friday. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So let me just tell this short piece. We were talking about animals and things, knowing. So anyway, I'll forget all the rest of the journey. I'll just tell you this little bit. When I got to the base of the mountain, I've been on my own for some time. He dropped me off and I had to foot it across the prairie. Got to the base of the mountain. And he said to me, you'll know when to... I had to ask permission to the mountain, to the animals, to all that live there, and let them know that I was coming in a good way. Okay? And so that I did. I shut my eyes, and all the grass, it was all this thin brown strawy grass that was like 3-4 foot tall. And it was just going up into the mountain, into the pine trees. So I did my little piece, and then I stopped and I felt something around me and I couldn't see it. And then suddenly I noticed, because it blended so well, was a female, full-grown female deer same colour skin as the grass, could hardly see her except for the white tufts. And I looked at her and she was looking at me, and normally they would scoot and panic and run, but she stood there and she made a vibrating noise in her throat. And so I lowered my voice and I spoke so gently to her. And you say animals don't understand the words. It's not the words that you speak. Well, it is, because each word literally has its own energy. So if you could understand energy enough, you wouldn't have to see my lips move, but you would know that energy means he, that energy means this. You would read the energy. Animals understand better than you and I energy. And so you just say the right words and you let them know, look, I'm not here to harm you. In fact, it's nice to see you and thank you for being there. And, don't go anywhere, all of that. And so it stayed there, stock still. And then after 2 or 3 minutes, it made another noise, but it changed the tone in its throat. And then she was over that side. And then right in front of me, in this 4-foot grass, I saw it starting to move. And then it parted right in front of me. And literally, if you've ever seen Walt Disney's Bambi, this little foal, this little deer with all the big white spots all over it, came right out, looked at me, didn't panic, because Mum had already told him, it's okay, you can come out. That's what that second noise was. She was waiting to see what I was going to do and how I was going to react. And it came out, walked up to its mother. She'd give me a glance, and then the two of them just gently waddled off. But that, that's the good thing. You can say I'd never hurt that animal, but not everyone that says something carries the energy of the truth of it within them. The intent is different from what comes out of their mouth. Do you understand? So you have to have the same balance. So you have to speak what you feel. And animals know if you're speaking or if you're feeling. They know the truth of things. So you can't kid animals. And it's just great. You can go around and you can attract and witness such amazing things. I've seen a host of things. But like I say, I'll give it a rest there, because honestly, I could talk and talk and talk. I say to myself, do you know what? Oh, I'm blooming dreading tonight. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's always the same. When I sit down, my mouth don't stop. Rabbit, Chaz and Dave all in one.
Oh, do you know what, Colin? I could sit and listen to you, and the beautiful way you put things across, and just your sense of you're just a gift to the spirit. You're just a gift to the spirit. So thank you. And I am just so pleased that you were able to come and join us this evening.
Don't worry, I've enjoyed it. It's nice, because while I've been sat here, when we did that little meditation bit, I was calling on some inspiration, and the energy's been here ever since. So it's been nice. And it just goes to show you don't have to be in the church. This is absolute. You don't have to be in the church or in any spiritual environment. This goes to all of you that are sat there now, that the spirit will be where you are when you open yourself to it.
Yes.
Anytime. Sat on the lake. I was fishing today, and I had my little moment there on the lake, and it was lovely. And so you can do it. The spirit will be with you when you open yourself up in a good way to it. Always be there. And it's just amazing. And like I say, if we just knew, like that little reading at the beginning, just a portion, and when you can touch that energy just for a second or two, and just get even the glimpse of the true potential of the feeling you'll get when we're over there. And even that little smidgen of it is enough to make you overwhelmed and cry and feel like it's the best moment you've ever felt. And that's just touching it briefly. Imagine your true self in there, knows this, feels it all the time. And what fear is there to die?
There isn't. You've said it all. And as I said, you are a total gift that's part of the joy of having these virtual services, that we can have people that we would never normally be able to have access to, and people like yourself who are working quietly, getting on, doing what you do, working for the spirit world, having these experiences. And you've definitely opened lots of people's eyes, broadened horizons, and I know there's so many people just loving the energy you are bringing to this service this evening. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone that's joined us. You've all been in stunned silence. So thank you, everyone that's joined us, especially if you're here for the first time. Welcome. Welcome to the Light family. We very much hope that we are that beacon of light, as Colin said beautifully at the beginning of the opening prayer, trying to raise the vibration increment by increment, online, doing what we can on a Sunday. Oh, thank you, everyone that's joined us. Colin, it reminds me to just ask you if that's okay, just to kind of bring the evening to a close, do a closing prayer. Colin will be back on Friday to do some talking and kind of just expand really more on these topics. I know that people are really
questions and all that on Friday. We can talk about whatever you want, really. So yeah, I can just say before the prayer, thank you to everybody that sat in their homes now, wherever, and that have been attentive and listened and put their opinions and their thoughts and feelings, because you're all valid. We're all part of this. It's not just me and it's not just Ash. It's all of us together. And so, you know, that's how it should be. That's how it should be. Don't be afraid to shine your light. And so, yeah, if you've got any other questions after the service, you want to message me, you can find me on Facebook. I'm on there, Colin Flaherty, Spiritual Medium, or blah, blah, something like that. So yeah, feel free to contact me. It's fine, and I shall answer all I can. And so we're going to do the closing prayer now. So yeah. Great Spirit, all those in the world of spirit that connect with each and every one of us, especially in this moment, those have taken part in our little gathering here this evening. I ask you, all those in the world of spirit, to make yourself aware to those that have been here this evening in one way or another in these future moments, to try and bring their awareness to them in a greater way, to instill them with some impetus and drive to follow their spiritual path more closely in their own truth, as and when it befits them in their journey, as it is ordained already by the Great Spirit. Comfort them when they need. Support them in their moments, as I know you do. We understand there are times that we must sit alone on ourselves and get used and accustomed to these different feelings and sensations that the journey of life will bring upon us in our moments, not just of sadness, but of joy and of comfort and of happiness and of all those things. Teach us to value those experiences and all the journey and the emotion that comes with them, and not to be so flippant in our understanding of things, but maybe to measure things at a deeper level and know and understand the true power of that which resides within each and every one of us. Let us know that death is nothing. Let us know that we are the being within, and that this short journey in this short span of time is just a glimpse into things, and that the greater life that we live within ourselves and without, through the Spirit, and in the envelopment of that greater Spirit that is in touch with each and all of us, that we are here for purpose, and that we should make the most of that which we do with our lives, so that when we account in that little book of ours in the afterlife, that we look back, and as we read those pages, understand and see that we are content with the journey that we have had, and with the effort that we have put in, and that with the things that we have done for our fellow man, and that we don't look back upon it saying, I wish I had. Why did I not? And why did I? And so, as we all go on our way now this evening, we thank the Spirit for being with us, for connecting with each and every one of us. And we know that even when we leave this moment, you will be with us for the rest of our lives. And so, as has always been and always will, we leave our true selves in your care and in your keeping from this day forward. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Oh, Colin, I can barely wait. I can barely contain myself for Friday. What a fantastic service.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did very much, really did. So you've actually given me just you thanking me is me thanking you, because if you didn't invite me, I wouldn't have the opportunity to connect again and to share my own stuff as I've done. And you don't get that without being given the opportunity. Otherwise it stays here with me. So actually, thank you. And
lovely.
Thank you for listening, all of you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you everybody for being here. So Friday, I'll put the link below for Colin's talk. It's going to be on Friday on my page, on a different page. Please do join us for that. It's going to be not to be missed. So put that in your diaries for Friday from 6 till 7. Our speaker, our medium for next Sunday is going to be Ricky Whitmore, who's from Newton Abbott. Yeah, lovely Ricky. It's like the Spirit Quest crew reunited.
Yeah. He's a good lad. He's a West Ham fan too, so he's all right in my books.
Good. And just to say, getting lots of love for your Mandela in the back, your dream catcher.
Yeah.
Lots of love for that on Facebook. Yeah.
That was a gift from one of my old circles, a lady, a lovely lady in one of my circles from years back. Yeah, I love it.
Super,
Thank you.
super. Thank you so much. Night, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us and persevering and finding us. It was well worth it. We will see you next Sunday. If we don't see you on Friday. See you later, everybody. Thank you so much. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.